My name is Gabriel Chavez, and this is my video for PL1 of Biology. What is science? Science is an organized way to collect and analyze data of the natural world. One of the main goals of science is to collect this data so then provide information to explain patterns of these phenomena. The scientific methodology involves observing and asking questions, making inferences and forming hypotheses, conducting controlled experiments, collecting and analyzing data, and drawing conclusions. Scientific investigations begin with observation, the act of noticing and describing events or processes in a careful, orderly way. After making questions, scientists use further observations to make inferences. An inference is a logical interpretation of what scientists already know. Inference, combined with a creative imagination, can lead to hypothesis. Hypothesis is a scientific explanation for a set of observations that can be tested in ways that support or reject it. Testing a scientific hypothesis often involves designing an experiment that keeps track of various factors that can change, or variables. Whenever possible, a hypothesis should be tested by an experiment in which only one variable is changed. All other variables should be kept unchanged or controlled. The variable that is deliberately changed is the independent variable, while the dependent variable is the one that changes in response to the independent variable. A control group is exposed to the same conditions as the experimental group, except for one independent variable. Scientists make detailed records of experimental observations, gathering information called data. Data has two main divisions, quantitative and qualitative. Scientists use experimental data as evidence to support, refute, or revise the hypothesis being tested and draw a valid conclusion. Scientific attitudes lead scientists to exploration and discovery. Curiosity. It helps scientists to make new questions or formulate new ideas. Skepticism. It means that don't accept explanation without evidence. Open-mindedness. This means accept new ideas that may not agree with their hypothesis. Creativity. Scientists need this attitude in order to design experiments that yield accurate data. Publishing peer-reviewed articles in scientific journals allow researchers to share ideas and to test and evaluate each other's work. Using science involves understanding its context in society and its limitations. Pure science does not include ethical or moral viewpoints. Evidence from many scientific studies may support several related hypotheses in a way that inspires researchers to propose a scientific theory that comes to those hypotheses together. Biology is the study of life. Living things are made up of living basic unit called cells, are based on a universal genetic code, obtain and use materials and energy, grow and develop, reproduce, respond to their environment, maintain a stable internal environment, and change over time. Living things are based up on a universal genetic code. All organisms store the complex information they need to live, grow, and reproduce in a genetic code written in a genetic code called DNA. Living things grow and develop. Every organism has a particular pattern of growth and development. Living things respond to their environment. Organisms detect and respond to stimuli from their environment. A stimulus is a signal to which an organism responds. Living things reproduce. All organisms reproduce. This means they produce new similar organisms. Sexual reproduction. Cells from two parent unit to form the first cell of a new organism. Asexual reproduction is when a single organism produces offspring identical to itself. Living things maintain a stable internal environment. All organisms need to keep their internal environment relatively stable. This condition is called homeostasis. Living things obtain and use material and energy. All organisms must take in materials and energy to grow, develop, and reproduce. The combination of chemical reactions through which an organism builds up or breaks down materials is called metabolism. Living things are made up of cells. Organisms are based up on cells, the smallest units considered truly alive. Taken as a group, living things evolve. Over generations, groups of organisms evolve or change over time. Big ideas. The study of biology revolves around cellular basis of life. Living things are made up of cells. Many living things consist only of one cell. Information and heredity. Living things are based on a universal genetic code, DNA. Matter and energy. Living things obtain material and energy. Life requires matter that serves as nutrients to build up body structures and energy that fuels life's processes. Growth, development, and reproduce. All living things. Homeostasis. Living things maintain a relatively stable internal environment. Evolution. Taken as a group, living things evolve. Structure and function. Each major group of organisms has evolved its own particular body part, a collection of structures that have evolved in ways that make a particular functions possible. Unity and diversity of life. All living things are fundamentally similar at the molecular level. Interdependence in nature. All forms of life are connected into a biosphere. Science as a way of knowing. The job of science is to use observation, questions, and experiments to explain the natural world in terms of natural forces and events.